The long story short part is our friends and family started wanting to use the software that we built for ourselves for their ideas. And there was a moment where we had a switch where our ideas didn't matter anymore, and we had to focus on this software and helping more people use it for their ideas.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews.
Hello, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. This is the show that gets you in front of your best audience. Now, speaking about getting in front of your best audience, if you have an online presence or are looking for one, usually the best way to go about that is to have a website. But then there are websites and then there are websites. And with that being said, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming co-founder and CEO of Brilliant Directories, Mr. Jason Haloossim. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I know that you are super busy, and I very much appreciate spending some time with you. So on today's call, you and I are going to be talking about what it's like to manage a rapidly growing SaaS business and the story behind creating Brilliant Directories. We're also going to take a bit of a deep dive into the Brilliant Directories platform. But before we do any of that, Jason, it's customary for us just to spend a few moments to learn about the people behind the business, because after all, businesses fundamentally don't change too much. But what I have found is that the people that are running them most certainly do. So I noticed on your LinkedIn profile, you're in Santa Monica. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, we were founded in Santa Monica. I live in the West Los Angeles area. That's where the founders are from. When we started Brilliant Directories more than 10 years ago now, we did actually move into an apartment together, Matthew and I, the other co. And that's basically where Brilliant Directories was coded and born.
Yeah, fantastic. So what do you love about the place, and do you get to see much of it given how busy you must be at the moment?
Friends are here, family are here. Weather is, for the most part, always beautiful. The food is fantastic. Any type of cuisine you're after can be found here at any different level too. If you're looking for something, a little down and dirty, like a dive bar or something, want some high-end cuisine, Michelin star stuff, you could definitely find that here too.
Absolutely. Having been up that coast, and I love America for many different reasons. Now, especially their beaches. I find that taking a walk up and down past the piers is a fantastic thing to do. Do you have any hobbies like that? What do you like to do?
I actually just did that on the weekend on Sunday. I had a little bit of free time. I drove out to Ocean Avenue there. I just parked the car and went for a little bit of a walk. There's a lot of tourist activity there, so it's a little bit of people watching and also the scenery of the ocean. So definitely fun hanging out.
Can you spot the tourist?
Oh yeah. But everyone loves being. They're happy to be there. It's just nice to see people out, especially since the pandemic has winded down. You see people out. It's just really nice.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Going past Muscle Beach and watching the basketball hoop, players shooting some hoops, and it always reminds me of the movie White Men Can't Jump. It's just such a wonderful place. It's got so much to offer. Now, with all that being said, now you talked about food a minute ago. You are a bit of a foodie, but do you like to cook, or are you just more of a consumer?
I have a close set of friends that consider themselves foodies, so I join them along when they go out to eat. I pretend that I'm on vacation and let them do the ordering, and I just enjoy the experience. Cooking, I know enough just enough to be a little dangerous, but
yeah. I definitely think I'm a bit dangerous like that too. Now, I'm a bit of a movie buff. Do you enjoy movies? I'm into the whole, Thor and Ragnarok and all that sort of stuff. Do you like movies?
I'm hung up on the 90s movies and early 2000s. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, you probably agree. Simple movie formats, plot lines, good action, good comedies.
But yeah. I love it. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, I often, look at the journey of the entrepreneur behind the business, and I'd love to, if we could, go back to the early days. Can you recall growing up, and what do you remember fondly about that time?
I went to college and graduated with a degree in psychology. The reason for that, though, wasn't specifically because I was interested in psychology. I was more so interested in marketing and how to compel, people to take action for a product or a sale or whatever it might be over the phone or in person. So that's really what got me excited in my younger days about getting into business.
Fantastic. I remember growing up, and my grandpa used to be a bit of a mentor, a bit of somebody that I used to take inspiration from. During those early years, who did you have around you that you looked to?
I think I was lucky enough. Also, I think I could speak on behalf of our other co-founder, Matthew Brooks. We were lucky to be surrounded by both adults and peers that were interested in the small business mentality and entrepreneurship. Matthew himself had his own web design company at the age of 14 and 15 years old while he was in high school, taking clients that his father would recommend to him or refer to him. So I think just in general, we've always had that mindset of that entrepreneurial spirit.
It often gets me too. It gets stuck on the tongue. Now, I know that given that you've got a lot of things going on specifically at the moment with launching the product on different formats and that, what does a day look like for you? Do you get up at the crack of dawn? Tell us a little bit about your day.
I'd have to say it's evolved over the 10-year progression for the most part. We're lucky. The team at Brilliant Directories, our developers and our support team who answer support tickets and troubleshoot issues for the customers, honestly, they're top notch. Both their professionalism and I think the culture that we have in the business, in the company, and our day to day is pretty organized, to be honest. We have meetings, we have weekly scheduled meetings. We've gone through a lot of the growing pains at this point. So now it's a lot of maintenance. There's definitely still growth in the mix, but the day-to-day is maintenance, and there aren't too many landmines that we're coming across on a day-to-day basis. It's pretty easy for us to maintain our trajectory, given how stable things are and how great the team is.
That's excellent insight. Thank you very much. Now, I remember as a young man, my first ever experience as an entrepreneur was washing cars for $5 each. Do you recall your first entrepreneurial experience?
So I guess at least in California, you can start driving by the age of 16. And if I was going to get any sort of vehicle, I'd have to contribute towards any of the payments. I did start my first, I guess, paid W-2 wage position as a cashier on the weekends at a diner at a restaurant, and I've had all sorts of jobs like that. In my mid-teens, cashier jobs, working at a tutoring center, things like that. Eventually evolving through college, etc., into more career or office or admin role positions.
Now, I recall it being Steve Jobs who said, my overnight success only took me 10 years. Now, what we see today obviously has taken a lot of work and a lot of maintenance and a lot of, focus and the right people involved. What have you learned from taking a chance from that day one?
Well, that's a good saying, first of all. However, success can be defined with smaller milestones as well. Obviously, the grand picture with, lots of customers and revenue and things like that is the grand picture of success. But the way that we always move forward is by setting up small milestones for ourselves and small wins as well. And I think with that mentality, that continued to motivate us as we moved forward, and not worrying that we didn't have the revenue or the users that we wanted 10 years from when we started. But there's also another saying, I don't know exactly what it is, but success is, let me think about this. It's a good saying. It's incremental progress on a worthy idea. So it's continuously working on something and not giving up on it over time. And incrementally, you can move towards grander visions of what you have the definition of success as.
I love that incremental improvement. I was a former quality manager, and I understand the nature of continuous improvement ethos, and it's absolutely embedded inside of everything that you do. It's obvious to me. Now, where do you get your best ideas from? I know that you have a rock solid, community of people through Facebook and other platforms, through the Brilliant Directories main website. Where do these ideas come from, and how do you harness them, and how do you compile them, and turn them into something that people can use?
Well, I'll tell you two stories around that. In the earlier stages, especially when Matthew and I were living together, we would pull all-nighters and this and that. When we'd come across a problem, it'd always be that we found our answers when we took breaks, and then you'd find it in the shower or, kind of a mundane activity, going for a walk. And now more so, I'd say the ideas come from crowdsourcing the best ideas. Suggestions from the BD community are paramount now for the new features that we build into the platform. The platform has 1,000,001 features built into it. Our focus is the security and stability of the platform always, and we have so many feature requests as well. So we have our own ideas as well, and things on our own roadmap, but newer suggestions definitely come from the Brilliant Directories community and the users. And if not necessarily if an idea is voted up enough, we also have to agree that it would benefit the majority of users, but definitely a lot of the innovation comes from the community at this stage.
So there's a lot to be said about risk aversion, risk adoption, and retained levels of risk. Tell me about your experience with risk, and how do you perceive it? And is it good to be exposed to it?
Well, can you explain risk a little bit?
There's positive risk, there's negative risks. If I have idea A, I implement it, I get result B, that's a positive outcome. If I get result C, that's a negative outcome. Therefore, it's negative risk.
So we have a more recent saying that we're saying at Brilliant Directories: is the juice worth the squeeze? So we try to assess the benefit of working on something, the resources it's going to require, the number of people that will actually utilize said feature, or what we're aiming to develop. So yeah, really, that actually says it all. Is the juice worth the squeeze? We just look at all the different angles of time, resources, outcome, and we try to prioritize based on the things that would provide the most benefit and the best outcomes, and in the shortest amount of time sometimes, and with the least amount of resources. However, with that said, there are projects that do take longer, that are important, that we will implement, such as overhaul projects for a certain part of the software that is definitely due for an update. Those are a little slower to push because they're larger. We have a QA process, which is part of pushing new updates. We do quality assurance. So some updates are quick, 1 hour, we can push them. They're great suggestions. Other ones, it probably takes a few weeks, up to a month or two, to push. And those are the ones that impact the platform the most, because they're actually helping to, that's usually probably a technology update that we're doing, or something that's core to the system that we're planning for the next 4 or 5 years to utilize that type of an update for.
Loving this conversation. Now, there's going to be a lot of people on this call that listen in as startups, and they're just starting to walk the path that you've already walked, and so they're going to take a lot away from this. Now, that leads me to my next question about mindset. Do you ever have down days, and how do you get back on the bike, as it were, when you're feeling a bit like this is all a bit too much? Do you have those days?
I think everybody has those days. It's part of human nature, especially if you're pushing so hard. I think when you're a little younger, you can ward off burnout a bit longer. You can have more irregular hours more often. But as you get older, I think you also get a bit wiser, and hopefully a bit more established. But I think the best way to work efficiently with your time is to compartmentalize your tasks. I can promise you we have a million things, me personally, individuals at the company, on our lists. And for me, when I choose to do something, there's daily tasks like checking emails, and then there's projects. And you have to be realistic with yourself. How long is a project going to take to get it to an 80%, a good enough place? I don't believe in 100% because that's perfection is the enemy of the good,
Progress.
whatever. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one though. There's no such thing as perfect, and there's always an excuse not to move forward. I like to compartmentalize, and sometimes I'll say that this project is going to take 3 months, and it could be overhauling the UI of the admin area. It could be updating and refreshing our demo sites. It could be looking at the marketing email sequences that are set up for users. Those things, they can take a week, but you have to be realistic with yourself. And I think compartmentalizing those tasks separate from your day-to-day tasks, because they're larger projects, and being realistic with the time frames, it really alleviates a lot of pressure. And I think you'll have a better outcome when you can have that mindset going into it that, okay, this next 2 or 3 months is going to be dedicated to this goal.
Love it. Now, when you wake up of a morning, what's the one thing that would happen in your day that makes life worthwhile for you? What's the one thing that you really love to see happening?
Well, specifically at Brilliant Directories, there's always something new, whether it's something the support team discovers from a support ticket that's come in, or something new the development team has just recently completed, or some feedback that someone has left in the Facebook group or via email, or through an online review, and we can assess what that is. But I think in the movie The Social Network, he said that Facebook is like fashion. It never ends. It just always keeps going, forever. And that's kind of how it is when I wake up in the morning. And to your point about what do you do in your downtime and things like that, you can always go for a walk, and you can always shift your mindset or focus on maybe something else sometimes, because it seems that there's always something going on, or there's something else you can do to be productive. And again, back to the point about feeling down and what do you do on those days. I always maybe just try to pick one or two things to accomplish for that day, simple things. So at least I got something out of that day, maybe if I didn't have the energy or the mindset to complete the bigger things that I wanted to complete. So I'll just pick maybe one or two or three things, just to feel at least a little bit productive in that moment.
There's some gold insights here. I'm sure everybody who's on the call today is absolutely loving it. Thank you very much, Jason. Now, I'm looking at, again, the LinkedIn profile. You've had a lot of exposure to technology, marketing, digital product development, project management, and the list goes on and on. That being said, as co-founder and CEO of Brilliant Directories, what are your main functions at the moment? And what do you do best, do you think?
I think what we do is we try to assess what the community is asking for. I'm definitely active in the Facebook group and have a close connection with the community members, me personally, with the Brilliant Directories community. What I think my focus is on are on communications with the community, because I see that's the biggest asset we have right now. Not only because it's good for marketing to keep in touch with the community, but they're helping us dynamically make the software better for newer users that are going to be joining on the platform. So communications is one. I'd say also on the marketing side as well, that's part of the communications. Being the face of BD with regards to doing the webinars and interviews like this, but really that's not the most important role. I still have to say it's the team behind the scenes that keep things running smoothly. And then lastly would be because we chatted about some updates that may be resource intensive, is working with our team and planning out and prioritizing what the roadmap is going to be for future feature releases and things of that nature. So really crafting the development of the product as it evolves and moves forward.
I have to say, you've had multiple engagements with me already, and you're powering more than 30,000 websites. And I just don't know how you find the time to just personally engage. I think it's amazing and it's a real credit to you. But beyond that, I'm also seeing correspondence when I send in a ticket from people that seem to be part of your community responding to me. They are so polite, they are so switched on, and they know the platform inside and out. How is it that you build this network specifically?
We were actually, I have to give credit to the Facebook group
Mm-hmm.
community,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the flow of the Facebook groups. Now, I'm not trying to specifically advocate for Facebook groups, but we were using the LinkedIn groups prior. We wanted a forum or a way to connect with our users somewhere where they already existed. And LinkedIn's group format didn't work very well. And when we switched to Facebook groups, we found specifically that a lot of our users were already on Facebook. So it was easy to invite people and drive people to that group. And it slowly grew from there. So I guess for those of you who are listening and trying to figure out where to set up your group, not necessarily Facebook would be the place, but more so where your audience already exists. It could be on Twitter or another social network, and cultivating the community there might be lower hanging fruit and an easier opportunity. And that was a big deal for us, is switching. And yeah, that Facebook group is growing well. And beyond the numbers, there's actual activity in that group of members helping each other, and that's just like
Gold.
that. It's not just gold. Like you said, what makes me happiest in the morning, I think, or one of that, like just seeing that, it's like, wow, this thing is living and breathing on its own. And it's amazing. And we want to see more of that. We wake up every morning wanting to help our community now more than just the software or revenue or things like that. We want to like our users have like real projects they're working on, and we want to make sure that they can see their visions through.
Absolutely loving this call. Now, oftentimes the best businesses are born through problems. What was the genesis of BD? Where did the idea come from?
We have it on our website. Actually, I'll give you the short version of the story. We were younger. We were in our late 20s, early 30s, and Matthew had done tons of websites, and he had a custom built directory to find muralists. He had a directory called Find a Muralist, and muralists were listed on there. I, at the time, was kind of in between jobs and things like that. I was working at my father's store. He has like a design center, and they sell flooring and window coverings and things like that. And he wanted me to help bring more business to it. It's a local business here in Los Angeles. And thought separately from what I knew Matthew had done with the Find a Muralist, I said, let me make a directory of designers on their website, on the design center's website, and the designers would want to be listed. They would know that the design center existed, and there would be some kind of symbiotic relationship that could spur out of that. Long story short, Matt and I got together and we said, well, why don't we build a platform where we could manage both directories under the same interface? From that, it spawned just duplicating more and more directories in different niches and creating email flows and sequences. And we were able to launch hundreds of directories. We just had to buy the domain name. And we had some arbitrage marketing going with pay-per-click from Google and coming to the sites and selling leads to the professionals. And then the long story short part is our friends and family started wanting to use the software that we built for ourselves for their ideas. And there was a moment where we had a switch where our ideas didn't matter anymore, and we had to focus on this software and helping more people use it for their ideas. So that is where how the Brilliant Directories was born.
Yeah, wow, and it's come so far. What year was it founded?
Technically incorporated in 2012. We worked on it on the design, the Find a Muralist and the designer website. That started back in 2009, 2010. So it took 3 years before even Brilliant Directories came into existence. That's when we made the switch that Brilliant Directories was going to be the project we focus on, not necessarily our own directories.
Now, having run a WordPress website for many, 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 many years, in fact, almost when it started, and now running a Brilliant Directories website, it feels like a bit of a lucky dip with a WordPress update. I do a change, and we're hoping like buggery that it doesn't crash. And we, even if it's in the back end of a host provider, and yet when I make these same changes on the Brilliant Directories website, I have confidence. And to me, that is the most important thing. When I click that button, I'm not going to get a white screen or a blue screen of death or anything like that. I get what I asked for. Now, tell the audience, for those who don't really understand the difference between a standard, let's say a WordPress or a Wix or something like that versus a Brilliant Directories website. What's the fundamental difference?
Sure. Well, first of all, WordPress is still great.
Of course.
It's great, but I've seen that white screen of death as well, and I'm familiar with the update buttons for plug or the WordPress itself, and Matt and I are lucky enough because before Brilliant Directories was born, we had to spin out a few WordPress sites, as faces for some of the websites that we were running. We're lucky and proficient enough to know what to do and restore backups and things like that. But the fundamental difference is with WordPress, yes, you're hosting it yourself. But Brilliant Directories, I think, I don't know if this is exactly correct, but would fall more under the Shopify type of model or solution, where Shopify provides the engine for your e-commerce website. You just have to log on and your site is basically 90% built. You just have to add a few touches to it in your product. So the same thing with Brilliant Directories. You just sign on and 90% of your site is ready-made. The entire backend has tons of features and built-ins that you can use to run your membership website. There are some add-ons that we provide that are available. And now more so than ever, you can find third-party tools and plugins and integrate them with your Brilliant Directories site as well. Our focus for 2022 and 2023 is data portability, more integrations, the ability to sync your data more easily with other platforms. So I think the fundamental difference comes to, and some people are okay with it. They're okay with their own hosting and troubleshooting their own sites and clicking that update button every time a plugin needs an update. Also, a lot of the membership themes that are available on WordPress, they ask you to include 10 or 12 separate plugins sometimes just to make that theme or that plugin work properly as a membership solution. So just because you're getting a membership theme or solution that runs on WordPress, you're still going to need, I've seen several or up to a dozen additional plugins that you're going to need to maintain. And if you do customize any of those plugins, and that plugin requires an update, you're going to have to make a decision. Either don't ever update that plugin again, and maybe in a year or two it's going to have real issues, maybe potentially security issues. That's the main reason for WordPress updates. Or update it and risk losing the customization that you probably paid a developer to complete for you. I'd say Brilliant Directories is more turnkey in a nutshell than a WordPress site for membership and business directories.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is turnkey. I log in of a morning and it's just there. And I feel confident doing what I need to do with it. Now, I'd just like to ask you just very quickly, how do you feel knowing that you've come so far and you're achieving so much success and you've created a really valuable product that is changing people's lives? How does it make you feel?
It feels good. There's also a level of responsibility that we feel that's changed and shifted, and we're more serious and more cautious when making changes to the platform. And we understand that we're here to service the users and provide the best platform to the users. So before it was quick, like I mentioned, pulling all-nighters, coding stuff quickly. Now we take a government approach, moving slow and steady. As our other co-founder, Jeffrey Wyatt, would say now we have a government mentality where we don't need to rush anything. The software is in a good place. So we'll take things nice and slow, and democracy of the software will progress over time.
I see that there are a lot of different users. As a user myself, I have a particular take on it and how I can use it. What are some of the, I guess, the industries and sectors that are using Brilliant Directories? Who's it good for?
I have seen things from all across the board, from very specific small membership communities of a community of botanical enthusiasts that live in New York, the state of New York, very specific. We've seen global business directories is a trade resource for a specific niche, whether it be transportation or some type of manufacturing. A lot of times we're seeing, more so recently now, people creating smaller business directories for their local communities. Many Chamber of Commerce and nonprofits are also utilizing Brilliant Directories as a way to manage their members and also to publish content more easily online. And really just anything that would require content management with regards to publishing articles, events, news, and then also having a public or private database of your members, or they could be business listings, as I've mentioned. So really any type of need for content and data management is a good application for Brilliant Directories, which actually I have to say, it has been one of, because Brilliant Directories is for so many use cases, it was a challenge marketing Brilliant Directories, to be honest. Because it is like a Swiss Army knife, and it can be used in so many different ways and formats as far as use cases. So what we've tried to do is find the broader markets that we can more easily explain what the software and platform would work well with.
Yes, thank you again for your feedback. Now, I often think about mobile apps. We're in a mobile app world, and a large majority of what we do is actually through mobile devices. Tell us its compatibility with mobile apps. Can it work in that space?
Yeah, so there's a few ways you can use your Brilliant Directories site with mobile applications. The most and the simplest way is there's a lot of app builders out there, and you can just render your Brilliant Directories website within the app. So you just tell the app to go to this website when the app loads, and because the websites are mobile responsive, the person who enters the website through the app just feels like they're going like through an app format. What we're most excited about, and the first release of our API is going to be at the end of this month, July 2022. And it's going to also evolve and progress over time. But with the API, what's very exciting is app builders will be able to read data from their Brilliant Directories databases and recreate their own interfaces that they want for their mobile applications. So for custom app development, this is going to be a game changer. And probably by the end of the year, we'll have a fully mature API that can tap into all the database tables of your Brilliant Directories website. But for the novices out there, and if you're just looking to provide something in an app format for your users, you can use any number of app builders out there and just render your Brilliant Directories website URL within the app.
Now, talking about novices, I know that you have been very patient, and your community of support has been very patient with new people that are coming on, especially at the moment. I'm sure that there's an increased load you're having to manage. Now, how important is training, and what types of training do you provide?
This has also evolved with the platform, and we're still working to make it even better. The greater part of the last year and a half, again, because Brilliant Directories has so many features, we spent a lot of time compartmentalizing and better locating where the settings are within the admin area. Now, having said that, once the main updates surrounding that were completed, we completely redid our setup and training videos. The goal of those training videos is just basic configuration and setup. Being realistic, probably about an hour, hour and a half, you can have your site set up if it's your first time setting up a Brilliant Directory site. Each video is about 5 or 10 minutes, separate from those getting started videos to help you just get the general basic configuration of your site set up. And when I say that, I mean, you technically could start marketing your site and having users come use your site within that hour or two after the initial setup. But along with that, we do bi-monthly webinars. I think that's correct, or is it bi-weekly? Every 2 weeks, we do webinars where we do a tip of the week and also cover the newer features that were built into the platform the previous 2 weeks. And there's a lot of articles and documentation. You can go to our support center and just search by keyword if you're looking for something to do. And the easiest thing, if you're really stuck or you just don't feel like searching, you can email support@brilliantdirectories.com. And right now you probably get responses the same day or within a few hours.
You know, all of this being said, I know that the most powerful part of all of this is that people can get overwhelmed because there is so much choice. But what I found as a relatively new user is that I could get the help that I need. Again, the platform is super stable, and if you want to check it out, you can just go and check out ours by clicking our directory button, which leads me to the point. Are you there, Jason?
Yeah, I just gotta.
Like I was saying, you can visit the My Future Business website and click on our directory button, and it will take you to our Brilliant Directories website. Now, tell us a little bit about how people can, connect with you, and what is the process for getting on board with Brilliant Directories, should they want to go further?
Absolutely. So there's 2 things I would recommend. One is if you're just still in the awareness stage, trying to find the right platform for your needs, you can go to brilliantdirectories.com/free trial or /trial. They'll take you to our page where you can start your own free trial. There's no credit card required. You can play around with the platform. You can start building your website. And once the trial is over, you can choose to activate it as your live website if you'd like to do that. Also, if you do have questions, you can join our Facebook group. If you go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, it will redirect you to our Facebook group. You can click on the join button and you can engage with other BD users there, ask questions, see what some of the conversations are, and you can get a better feel for what the platform can do there.
Well, there you go, everybody who's on the call today. I'm pretty sure you've taken something of value away from this call, be it as from an operational standpoint, from a technology standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from a brilliantdirectories.com standpoint. Make sure you go and visit them. No matter where you see this call, you're going to find that link back to Jason and his wonderful team at Brilliant Directories. And with that all being said, Jason, great call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the show.
Thank you as well. It's been really fun. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.